Hey, good morning, good people. I am Treveal CW Lynch, Mr. What, and this is the I Am the Possible universe. I want to welcome you guys, whether you are live or on the replay. As I always say, your presence is the greatest present that any of you guys could ever give me. So thank you so much. We thank you so much for rocking with us this Saturday morning. Listen, today's broadcast, I'm going to jump right into it, guys, because I'm so freaking excited for my special guest. I'm so freaking excited about this topic. So I'm going to jump right into it, guys. Today's topic is learning to live by learning to love. Guess who? That's right. You loving yourself, guys. If you are someone and you're at a point in your life where you just don't feel alive, you just don't feel like living, you don't feel like going on, you don't feel like going forward, you may be in a place where you feel like you can't go forward because of the pains of your past. They continue to plague and prevent what's possible in your life. If that's you, then today's broadcast, it is for you. And I want you guys to lean in. I want you guys to stay tuned. I want you guys to, as I always say, guys, Saturday mornings, it is not a monologue. It is a dialogue. Chop it up with us. Leave comments. Ask questions. Let's get into this thing this morning. It is time to introduce my very special guest, man. We about to do it. Guys, will you help me virtually give up some love and welcome my main man, Jeffrey Saunders. Jeff, man, what's happening? Welcome to the universe, brother. Thank you so much for rocking with us this morning.
Yes. Thank you for having me on. I've seen you do multiple podcasts and whatnot, and I was like, man, I would love to connect with you to give back in the beautiful way. You know, I want to thank people who are watching or even watching the replay. And, you know, I want to really thank you for all the work that you do. And we align so beautifully in our lives, and we connected because we're on the same soul mission of giving back to uplift and heal those who are suffering. We do not want those. And typically it's through personal experiences that we've gone through, we've healed, and then we have the solution to give back. So I'm very excited to be on here today, and thank you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you so much, man, for sharing this moment with us. And we're going to start at a place that we can all relate. We can all connect. I don't remember what the quote was, but I do remember a thought that's saying, you know, many people can't connect with your success. Many people can't connect with, you know, you doing well in life or, you know, having $1 million. People can't really connect with that all the time. But the one common thread that we all can connect with is our suffering. Can you begin just in a storybook form, or just, you know, share as you feel led, man? Can you share with us some of the struggles, some of the things that you've gone through, the things that you've suffered, how they've impacted you? Just speak to things that maybe someone else out there who's listening or watching could relate to and draw strength from.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Before I share, especially for people who watch on the replay as well after, is everything I share about is very trigger warning. I'm very open and honest about my life. So I just want to prepare people for the things I'm going to talk about. It's very trigger warning for those people because I don't want to affect people or someone in a negative way. So just being aware. But, you know, starting off for us as children, it is a crucial time for the molding of our minds as we grow. And for me, with my story, you know, I suffered with a severe ADHD at a very young age. And every year, every school I moved around, I just couldn't sit still. I had a hard time sitting still, focusing on the work at hand. So the teachers would always put me out in the hallway with my own desk, or in the office with my own desk in the Xerox room, or even grade 2, you know, behind bookshelves in the classroom, putting me behind bookshelves. So this is how I grew up every single year at school. So you can imagine now as a child, what you are feeling and going through when the teachers are making you to feel different. I don't believe they tried to. They just didn't know how to handle it. And then being bullied. How many of us have been bullied? And year after year, I went through being bullied. And that alone was very painful to go through. So it started off at a very young age, just from the school aspect of being bullied and not allowed to feel a part of. So there is no buildup of self-worth or confidence within myself at a very young age as a young boy. And and then at home with a father who was not emotionally available because of his past. It's always our past that shaped and formed us, and we, you know, we learn that as we get older, as adults. But I didn't have an emotionally available father, and it was more verbal abuse, you know, that I lived with at home, unfortunately. So that was my upbringing. The fear that I lived in because I was in that environment, especially for children, we are so sensitive when we are children at feeling energy, the energy around us. And I lived with a lot of fear at home from my father. So all this I was feeling and going through, I actually tried to commit suicide the first time at the age of 12. With a belt around my neck. And unfortunately, it carried on to 12 more attempts throughout my life in very severe ways where doctors didn't believe that I actually did the things I did because I had no symptoms. I was just made to not, I was never allowed to actually leave without fulfilling my purpose. And this is why where I'm at today, to be able to give back. So that was just the upbringing of the suffering of a young boy. That had that. So then, you know, after all that shaping and molding of my childhood, what did that leave me with, right? No self-love, no self-worth, no confidence. So where did I find comfort? Was in, at first, video games, being addicted to not being around the world around me. Then it was the theft and stealing just from stores to get my mind away from things, and I would throw them in the garbage right away because I couldn't bring them home. My mom would be like, "Where the hell did you get that?" Right? So I couldn't bring them home. And then it led into marijuana and drugs, and I suffered with beating myself up because I was, as a child growing up, I was being beat up emotionally in different ways. So I just continued on what I knew, which was the self-abuse of addictions in many ways, overeating. 200 pounds in just a year and a half from overeating when I was 19.
Wow.
Multiple different drugs, you know. And then I started my healing process at the age of 17, you know, with therapy. And then that's when the shift that we'll get into later, but that's the shift that happened. But those were what I was brought up with, what I lived in, what it then caused my teenage years and then my adult life into the healing transition that I went through.
Wow, man. Thank you so much for kind of taking us into that. You said something that is so true for so many, that it's in those formative years, it's in the past that shape our identity, that shape how we feel and think about ourselves. Much of that then translate, if not dealt with, into our teens, late teens, early adulthood. And I've seen even, you know, into their 60s and 70s, you know, having that childhood hurt still within and not being resolved. So thank you for taking us. I mean, 12 suicide attempts, you know, the pain, the suffering, the shame, the overall disconnect that you must have experienced, to want to leave this reality. What do you say before we get into any of the, you know, because we got these sections to go through, but I'm just feeling kind of led to ask, what do you say, you know, or what first comes to heart for that person that may be watching today?
You know, each of those times, there's a reason, you know, even before I get in, there's a reason why when I do my different shows or things I go on, I have paradise behind me, because this is where I live today. And this is the freedom and hope that I, you know, I am in Canada. It is minus whatever, but really I got my shirt on here. It's a nice, beautiful day, the beach, right? This is the paradise that I live in today. This is what I've worked so hard to overcome through all my past. And like I was starting to say earlier, you know, I started my therapy at the age of 17. That was the beginning of the healing work that I had to do. But when I go back to all those times of being in that state of depression, it was, you know, to be in the depths of crossing that line to take your life. It is very severe. And unfortunately, a lot of people, because they haven't had the experience to live in that state, they think that people that are in that are just wanting attention, you know, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. They're really suffering from within. And unfortunately, out of all those times where I try to commit suicide in the different ways that I did, there was only the last time that I actually reached out for help, actually. And that was actually about 2 years ago. And that was the final stages of my healing to remove the depression from myself.
Yeah.
But it is truly to just grab a phone and to reach out to someone, because you're not going to do it on your own. When you're at a place where you're already in the depths of not feeling worthy, not feeling any love for yourself, you're really just in a world. What actually happens is, through all the work I've done in the last 2 years, any experience that we go through of suffering, we lower the frequency of energy within our body, and we lower it to the energies that we cannot see around us, and we lower ourselves to like a hell state frequency. And there were a lot of beings around that are actually there taking place that want you to sit in this space. They are holding you in this space. So it's really to reach out to someone is the biggest thing, right, with that.
Yeah.
And then there's still much more after, because we have to, what happens next, and I don't want to get too far ahead, is obviously we have to heal the past. We have to heal the things that caused us pain in our life, that caused us, or actions that we have done to another to cause shame and guilt, what we feel. We have to do the healing work of all of it to live freed from depression or those states that, are not serving our highest good. Right.
That's right. And so let's go ahead and slide in, man. Let's go inside, slide into that shift, because going from that hurt to that healing, there's always a shift. There's always a paradigm shift, as we call it, or there's a life experience that kind of wakes us up and moves us forward. So why don't you share a little bit, man, about how you began to heal from that hurt? What was your shift? How did it all, play out, man?
So,
yeah.
So the beautiful thing, where I'm grateful to be here today and not be on the other side from the state that I was in, because the true being of light of who we are in our physical body is the pureness of that inner child. The pureness of love, joy, and happiness is the frequency of energy that we can all live through. And this is where I'm at today, because I did have a death experience out of my last suicide attempt, which was 3 years ago, where I actually went through with it. There was one more time after that that I reached out for help, and that was the last time. But the shifts all started happening for me. The first one that I talk about of spiritual awakening was when I was in the 12-step program. And of course, when I started that was 11 years ago now, when I put myself into treatment. That was the first thing, to learn to forgive ourselves and to forgive others, and the importance of that. That was I'm getting goosebumps all over. I love it.
Wow, man.
That was the first awakening for me. Because what actually happens, when we're growing up, and because of the hurt and pain that I went through as a child, it shaped and molded me to do actions in my life that were not, say, pure, or, of sinning, or whatever the terms we want to use for it. But because of my past and not being healed from it, it caused me to act out and lash out to hurt others and to continue to hurt myself. Wow. So, understanding that it was because of my past, with all the hurt and pain I lived through, it was learning to forgive myself and let go of the things that I carried shame and guilt for. Because I carried a lot of shame and guilt for my actions, even though is because I identified myself with the being of the past that went through those experiences. I am not worthy. I'm not good enough because I did this, because I did that, or because people are hurting me. I must not be worthy. Right? It has to be true, because this is how I'm treating myself, and this is how others are treating me. So, that was the first real awakening for me. And it was sharing out loud all the experiences of things that I've done to others. And I voiced it was either to your sponsor or to a priest. I felt more comfortable to a priest, just because of how I identified with so much shame and guilt that I wanted to go see a priest. After when that was done, I felt the world was lifted off my shoulders, because all these years, here I am 33 now, my first time of doing this, now I realize that
Mm.
I am not a horrible person.
Right.
They're just experiences. I've learned through those experiences because I've carried shame and guilt. That was my learning. That was for me to learn not to do things again. That was the what word do I want to use? Repercussions.
Yeah.
Was to carry shame and guilt. Because now I would do things differently. If those things came up again, I would do things differently because that is not of who I am. It's just the experience. So anyways, that was the first awakening for me of transition. Another one, so that was voicing out the hurt and pain. Another one is the allowing our inner child to live freely, moving through us again in our lives. I actually seen a shaman for this one. I went through the experience of bringing forth my inner child to not suffer. And then I critiqued it my own way and I put it into my session, but it was one of the parts where I could feel the fullness of light, of the higher frequency of love and light. When we use the terms love and light, for people like, oh my God, love and light. Actually, I try to use just the term light now, because the higher we go up in frequency of light, the vibration and frequency of it moves so fast, it gives off this amazing and beautiful feeling of love. And the higher we go, the more love, joy, and happiness we feel. So that was another major part. Another one was healing my heart space. I had to heal all the pain and suffering that I've carried in my life. And this was through Milan Moritz, actually. I did this with her, or through her. And I removed all the hurt and pain throughout my life that I've carried in my heart. And that was a major shift for me. And then the last one, but not least, was when I slept at night, because since my death experience and coming back, I've been gifted with being able to see through the frequencies and dimensions that are around us, that live through us. So I've actually been working with them for specific ones for almost 2 years now. And they brought me through a past life of mine that I lived. And they got me to forgive myself for something at this place. So what they actually did, they got me to repeat a few phrases, and these phrases released the bad karma. It released, and I was able to forgive myself and others as well at the same time. And when I woke up the next day, my life was completely changed from the process they put me through. So I give that back through my sessions. When I heal people, those were the major transformations of my life, to loving who I am today, to look in the mirror, to watch this video and not criticize myself, but to love myself, to love who I am. And when we live in this space, we can all reach it. I promise you, I've suffered my whole life to reach this place. And you know, to take all the spiritual awakenings for me and put them together to give back to people that I've been doing through my video call sessions. It's been actually instantly changing and transforming their life instantly. And I've been growing and growing with more testimonies and video testimonies of people that just want to share, like, the experience that I'm able to give back. I'm so humbled for, I'm so grateful. And the thing is, when we heal our past, here comes the beautiful part. When we heal our past and we're fully healed, we can give back the solution that worked for us and then connect to more people to free them from their suffering. Because I don't want people to spend 25 years to find this freedom. The same as you, with all your life, with the things that you've overcome. You don't want them to spend their whole life to be where you're at today. We want to give this back to you today. All the solutions that changed your life, we want to give back today. And so those were the experiences I've gone through, of the pivot points of spiritual awakenings, to allow that inner child, the being of light, at the pureness of the level of light that we come from, to now live through me fully. And the higher we live up in this higher frequency, the less we feel of fear or our mind's ego trying to hold us back. It's not a part of my life no more.
No, man.
Right? We live from our heart space, and there's no fear in that. Right. And it's so beautiful, and we can all live there.
Look at that. It's perfect love, man. Cast out all fear, man. That's beautiful. So guys, if you're out there, you are not alone. Maybe you've heard it before, but maybe this is the one time it gets in there. So, man, let's get into some of your success, man. What in whatever you want to share, man. But I just believe that success, by definition, in and of itself, is the end result of an attempt. That's just that which succeeds, that which comes after. So, in the framework of you going from hurt to healing, these awakenings, this spiritual, just healings, leveling up in your light, living from that heart space, where and what have you now been able to succeed in that you once were not able to succeed in?
I mean, you can't tell I'm getting emotional.
Break it down. Go there, man. Whatever you want.
Yeah,
flow.
Because it's really, it narrows down to one thing. And it's something because I feel so much gratitude for, is loving myself. You know, I spent my whole life not loving myself. Right. And, you know, all the pain that comes behind, it's like, I'm not in this space now, but now I'm reliving and now I'm bringing myself back to that space where I once lived, and just not loving myself and not feeling worthy and not feeling good enough. And I don't live in that space today because of all the work that I've done to get here. You know, that is the first thing, you know, because there are two major things. That is the first one that really hits me in the heart of feeling nothing but love and happiness within myself, with who I am, with how hard I've worked to get here, to live in this space and freedom.
Yes.
Of paradise, right? Behind me, of that pureness of light and love and joy and happiness. And I just want to be there in that beach behind me, you know, but I'm surrounded by snow, but I live it within. Yeah. And that is one of the greatest successes.
I love it, dude. Yes, man. Yes. So right. I love that, man. So anything that you want to expound on, man, just share, flow. Or you know, if not, you know,
no. I wait for something. I just allow things to come up on what feels for the right thing for me to share on. And this is what I'm exactly at the point on what I'm going to share on. My death experience, where I overdosed, and I went through the experience, and we talked earlier about this. One of the beautiful things from it, you know, because there are always positives from anything that is negative. There always is. If we look and we find it, we can find gratitude in something. And the gratitude I find, or that I found, is that when I was suffering and I was going through severe anxiety and severe depression, doctors had me on medications going up and down, really, you know, messing with me. And then I had energy around me that was trying to pull me down. You know, when I got to this space of my body stopping to breathe, and I was laying on my couch, there is a shift that happens when we die, when our body dies. There's a shift. And the hurt and pain from my mind's consciousness, of the suffering, everything I was going through, as soon as I was focusing on my body stopping to breathe, and I did stop, there was just a shift of consciousness. There was no stoppage of time. It just shifted from my suffering of the ego, of our mind's consciousness that was conditioned through life, to now just streaming back and just being my being, the being of light that was within my physical body. Now I'm still alive. And as soon as I got to the space, I said, God, I don't want to die. I said, but can you show me the other side? So the aliveness and everything within me, then I could still feel I was in my body. I could still feel like it was almost like a box or a coffin I'm laying in. I could feel myself shifting around, moving around. So I have this great awareness as well, that we can actually shift and move our body of energy around. And I teach people this out of my class as well. But the freedom of how it comes to me with the kingdom of heaven within, when I hear that term, and how I align it now to my life in today's world with that, is the peace and calmness and stillness and truth of who I am in the present moment, without anything affecting it. I was just being the pureness of light of who I am. So when I came back to my body, so I went through a little experience. I just seen vivid colors and walls and things and whatnot. And I know I went to 2 other places, but I couldn't remember. Then all of a sudden I could hear my mom calling my name. I thought she was outside of my apartment banging on my door. It's actually what brought me back to my body, because I thought my mom was there telling me to keep breathing, son, keep breathing. And then I eventually came back to my body. And then my breathing was all like crazy when I came back. And then I was gifted to see the energy that's around me, interacting with animals and different beings of light that are always just wandering around, you know, and that's what I was gifted with the work I do to give back today. But it is learning to be present in the moment. That is where we find, I do not suffer and need medications for anxiety, for depression,
that's right,
for ADHD. I am so present in the moment, allowing me to live through my inner being of light, that I no longer am a part of my mind where all the suffering was. And now some people call it the watcher, or you're witnessing. Now I'm not living in my mind, but now I can see the thoughts that are coming in, and I'm no longer a part of it. I'm just curious. Okay, why am I thinking that? Why am I feeling that way? And I'm not living, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. Excuse me, that is all within our minds. So learning on whatever it means for a person to start off on their journey of meditation. The best way, and I have severe ADHD, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, you know, I struggle with keeping my mind still and whatnot. I'm like, well, I have severe ADHD. I live my whole life with my mind and being in my mind, and we can do it because I did it. And this is how. So listening to guided meditations to start off, things to uplift you, because it's just being present in the moment when we're looking at stars or the sunset or whatever. We're present in the moment at that time, and we can feel of that. And that will help to bring more love, joy, and happiness into our lives when we can connect to our inner being, and allowing that to express through us frees us from all the suffering within our mind.
Wow, man. I love how you put that, man. I believe in that so thoroughly. It is so fascinating the more I dive into the way that the mind works, the renewing of one's mind. And you really touched on a big one, man, that I want to just emphasize to anyone out there. You talked about observing the thoughts and not living the thoughts. They're coming in, right? There was this goofy, well, I won't say goofy, but a very funny analogy that I once heard, and I'm just like paraphrasing it. But they say, you know, birds can land in your hair, but you don't have to let them build a nest. And so it's the idea that you've tapped into something that is so transformational. Understanding that the thoughts are coming in, and you literally can observe them and allow them to be whatever they are, not assign meaning to them, and then just let them just keep going.
Yeah, because a lot of them,
to them, right?
A lot of the, well, and here's the thing, a lot of them comes from false beliefs. They come from experiences of the past that shaped and formed us to believe something that is not true, but that experience formed us to believe it.
Yep.
And then we live in it, believing it, and it's not true. These things that hold us back aren't true. We are very powerful beings of light that are living a human experience. Very powerful, but we have to heal what we've been through, of what others have done to us, and also what we've done to others is huge on releasing us from the past.
Yes, man, I love it. Hear a little bit about yourself, about your work and the benefits, and then we'll close it on out, man.
Okay, so you know, before I just share briefly on my services, with where I'm at today and who I am today with what I do, because as my business name, the Canadian Healing Medium, I didn't want to use at the beginning the term medium, because I knew the power that I was starting to work with of God's highest frequency. I knew that people and their beliefs, we're all perfect, no matter what you believe. If you don't believe in the things that you know, with my life today, that's okay. If it doesn't connect with you, it might connect with someone else. But I didn't want to use the term medium, because a lot of people, their belief is like, oh, it's bad, it's wrong. And with me, all I care about is healing a person's suffering mentally, emotionally, or physically. So I was really at the beginning, I did not want to use it, but as time went on, and our ancestors of light that I work with, they said, no, this is what I use. And I said, okay. So I've been working with our ancestors. So the highest, let me blow my nose for a second. I just, they teach me everything to continue to be able to give back and to heal in the ways that I can, learning to amplify the frequency of the divine light energy that I work with, learning to amplify the frequency, amplify the vibration. So what I can actually do is I can connect with any people or a group of people and allow the light of the highest frequency of healing energy to run through me and connecting to them. So that is the first thing that I do. And then they go through an experience of the light working through them at such a high frequency. And they go through different experiences, which is a very beautiful and peaceful experience of healing. And what that light actually does, it removes darkness, of the vibration of darkness of personal experiences that you've gone through. And it heals that, to remove it, to have a person feel more freed in their life instantly. They feel this freedom and they don't understand why. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is why. It's allowing the light to heal as much as it can from the past.
Again, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for showing up for us, man, for serving us in this way, for adding value, for expanding our consciousness, for expanding our awareness, and helping us to see things that we once didn't see, know things that we once didn't know, so that we can be things that we once were unable to be, which is one of the things, is being able to be loving toward ourselves. So thank you for your transparency.
4 L's.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. 4 L's, man. Learning to live
by learning to love. Look at that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. All right, guys. Again, I pray. I hope, I wish, all that good stuff, that something we've shared today, something Jeffrey has shared, something that we've done, just in the course of our conversation, that it has helped you in some way, somehow, to have the hope within you for what is possible for you and through you be revived, guys. That is our desire. That is our intention each and every day and each and every time that we communicate anything. So let me shut down my banner. As I always say, guys, I love you. I'm praying for you guys. I am believing in you guys. And until next time, peace.